Kevin Durant still in Phoenix, but that was up in the air just before yesterday's trade deadline. Charania back with us now. Shams, how close did a Kevin Durant deal get, and what teams were involved here?
Malika, the Warriors' pursuit of Kevin Durant kickstarted all of these conversations when they began calling the Suns about a week and a half ago. The Suns have always wanted Kevin Durant to retire there, but the Warriors made several aggressive offers, including one framework, I'm told, in a three-way that would have sent Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, first-round picks, second-round picks, and swaps to the Phoenix Suns. But once Durant made it clear that he did not want a reunion, he did not want to go back to the Warriors, the organization backed away. Multiple new teams, though, did make some offers this week, and that included the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Miami Heat. Obviously, we know the relationship between Kevin Durant and Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves were a team that pursued Durant this week, and the Heat had an opportunity and a window potentially to go after Durant. They offered, from what I'm told, Jimmy Butler and Josh Richardson. Obviously, not enough to get a deal done. Kevin Durant never wanted this to be a topic this season. He has never requested a trade out of Phoenix. And so the fact that his name was involved in any conversation, that is something obviously both sides are going to have to work through the second half of this season. Yeah,
because when it's all said and done, after all of that chatter, Kevin Durant remains with the Phoenix Suns. Shams, thank you so very much. We will see you out here for NBA Countdown very soon. I want to bring it back to our panel here because exactly as Shams just detailed, Brian, the Phoenix Suns have the toughest remaining schedule in the NBA. It is incredibly difficult for anybody. This isn't a Kevin Durant. When you are talked about in that matter, particularly after you've achieved what Kevin Durant has, to move forward after this, how do the Suns do that?
So I'm going to quote Pat Riley, because this is one of the things I learned when I was covering the Miami Heat. UD, I'm sure, has heard what I'm about to say. You have to be an active participant in your own rescue. There is nobody that's going to be able to help the Suns. There's no player that's coming in. They have a brutal schedule. They have an underachieving team. They have an upset superstar. They could crater here. The only thing that's going to prevent them from cratering is bringing it together and trying to go through it. Now, I am also, this is the way I believe in living in the NBA, is actions over words. The actions of the Phoenix Suns are that they're not sure this team is working. They tried like heck to trade Bradley Beal, and they can say whatever they want to say to try to get through the situation with Durant, and I'm not going to blame them. They were having discussions to trade Kevin Durant. And the reason they were having trade discussions for Kevin Durant is because they realize their team's in trouble. Their team's in trouble, and they can't trade Bradley Beal. The player they can trade is Kevin Durant. So let's see how this season goes out. Let's see if they are active participants in their own rescue, because if they're not, they have no choice but to explore Durant trades this summer. And with Durant having 1 year left on his contract, he will have control over how those trade situations go, if they go.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, what people don't understand is, and what players and organizations fall victim to is, it's hard as hell to win with a big three. It is even harder. The easy part is putting it together. The hard part is the chemistry, the habits. You have guys who are used to building a system around them. Now you have to share that with two other guys. And also you have to make sure your role players are happy. You got to throw your dogs a bone every now and then. So understanding that, and like you said, nobody is helping them. That's why you got to have those uncomfortable conversations in the locker room and tell the guys straight up, nobody is helping us. Don't look at Bud. Don't look at Fizdale. Don't look at Posey. This is on us, and we got to own that.
Yeah, and you're right, UD. And with the big three, the word sacrifice comes to mind.
Man.
I saw it with Kevin Garnett the first day of training camp in 2007, 2008, where he actually said, hey, we're going to run this offense through Paul and Ray. I'm going to take a back seat and worry about the defensive side of things. What that did was that set the tone in the locker room that if this man, who's the best player on this team, could take a back seat, then that's real. One more thing. When you look at this roster, okay, they have enough to win games. And my thing is, we saw Donovan Mitchell bring the best out of Royce O'Neal. We saw CP3 bring the best out of Devin Booker. We saw Ja Morant bring the best out of Tyus Jones. We saw Steph Curry at times bring the best out of Damian Lee. And we saw Jokic bring the best out of Monte Morris. When I challenge KD to leadership, it's not because he's not the best player on the team. I'm wondering why can't he bring the best out of those players of which you got right now to try to make a late push.
to borrow your phrase that you're borrowing from the Godfather, from Pat Riley, if this roster is going to be active participants in their own rescue, let's take a look at this roster. Our Bobby Marks is standing by at the touchscreen right now. Bobby, where do the Suns stand with this roster right here?
Well, all great points. I think the next 30 games is going to decide as far as where Phoenix goes with this roster, because remember, when you have Kevin Durant, certainly, and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, that's three players that are going to be making $160 million. Basically, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, and that's where this Phoenix roster is going to be next year. I think here are the big questions that we go in the last 30 games here. 1-4 in the last 5 games, right? Things are certainly sliding. As Brian said, toughest schedule among all teams for the rest of the season. They are barely hanging on for that 10th spot, last playing. Does the Durant discussions around the trade deadline become a distraction, right? 1 year left on his contract after this year, extension eligible, 2 for $124 in the offseason. And here's the biggest question, and was yesterday an indicator? Has the retool started already?
Right.
The Jusuf Nurkic trade potentially could save them $130 million in salary for next year, and that costs a first-round pick here. So keep an eye on that. The Durant discussion, I've talked to teams this morning. We're not even in the offseason yet. Teams have already circled that as the big thing to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking to executives last night, this is the move that everybody around the NBA is going to be watching for the remainder of the season, and that is a weight that the Phoenix Suns are going to have to carry. We're going to start with Anthony Edwards. There were some incredible performances last night. It wasn't just Shams' screen time. Anthony Edwards, he scored 41 points last night. The Timberwolves defeated the Rockets. Edwards has dropped 40 in back-to-back games. UD, where do Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves match up against the elites of the Western Conference here?
I mean, they right there with the Lakers. We talking about how well the Lakers are doing right now, but them are 1 game behind, sitting in that 6th spot. So as we see Houston start to fall a little bit, we see teams like the Lakers and teams like Minnesota move up. 40 points. The boy handing out 40 balls like Loewe bags. And what I do got to say to Dylan Brooks is you can't keep talking and putting 40s on your head like Hickey. So
how about them Trailblazers?
How am I supposed to follow up this?
They beat the Kings last night for their 6th consecutive victory and 10th win in their last 11 games. A big reason has been Portland's defense, which has led the NBA in defensive efficiency since January 19th. Bobby, starting to see a shimmer of hope in Portland?
Oh, yes, we are. The best team right now is in the Pacific Northwest, in the Portland Trailblazers, first in defense during this stretch, led by head coach Chauncey Billups.
How about Klay Thompson turning back the clock, scoring 25 points? The Mavericks beat the Celtics in Boston. The Mavericks are currently in that Western play-in race. Windy, will AD be enough to get them in the top 6 by the end of the season?
Well, if Klay keeps shooting like this, 2 weeks ago they played against the Boston Celtics at home. He was not good. In this game, he made up for it back like 2022, where they won the championship in there. Hey, you can boo your team one night, so Mavericks fans, then pay attention to the product on the court. They're going to still be pretty good.
Well, the Mavericks, they're now set to start a 5-game homestand Saturday against the Pacers here. They'll also host the new-look Kings, the Warriors, and the Heat, all on this homestand. Now joining us from Dallas, our Mavericks reporter, Tim McMahon. So, Tim, Luka Doncic, he was, of course, beloved in Dallas. And we've heard reports that fans have threatened members of the team. Tim, what security precautions are being taken here by the Dallas Mavericks?
Howdy, Malika. Listen, this is a heartbroken fan base, and there have been some very unfortunate developments regarding that anger, that angst. Nico Harrison has been subjected to death threats. There have been racial epithets included in some of those. Certainly security is going to be beefed up. There will be protests outside the arena, or at least those are planned. Security will absolutely be beefed up. Nico Harrison is not going to be in his normal seat in the stands. They just don't, there's no reason to subject him to that kind of a security risk. So that has been definitely an unfortunate part of this whole storyline. Obviously, the fans' anger, hey, they have every right to feel like they got a generational superstar ripped away from them, but clearly lines have been crossed.
Yeah, that seems like just a little bit too far here, Tim. Thank you for that. The Mavericks, they did get an All-NBA player in this deal, though, with Anthony Davis. Let's take a listen to AD earlier together.
I get, who Luka was to this franchise, to this city. I'm never, going to downplay that. Just how, I know what I meant to the city of LA. So I'm not, surprised by, the fans' reaction and the city's reaction. At the end of the day, I'm going to get a city, get them life back. Obviously it's a tough transition. It was a shock, to all, but like I said, my job to come in and play basketball and win basketball games.
So that was Anthony Davis just moments ago. Tim, when can we expect AD to make his debut here for the Mavs?
Yeah, he's good to go for tomorrow afternoon with the Houston Rockets in town. And look, it's going to be a surreal scene, but you just heard Anthony Davis. He's focused on what he can do, and his plan is to come in, play at the level that he's played his entire career, and as he said, hope to give this city a little bit of life back. And it's crazy. We're talking about one of the best players in the NBA, a former #1 overall pick. It was a celebration when he went to New Orleans, when the Lakers were able to pull off a trade for him, a massive celebration in the city. It's almost like this is a funeral, despite the fact that, Anthony Davis, a multi-time All-NBA big man, a top 75 player of all time, will be suiting up for the Mavericks for the first time tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's through no fault of Anthony Davis. I think winning cures all, so hopefully that is what is in the Dallas Mavericks' future and in this fan base's future. Tim McMahon, thank you so very much for joining us.